This is the path of my destiny. Come on, let's turn up the heat.
You got him!
Puzzle Fighter!
This is the path of my destiny. Come on, let's turn up the heat.
You got him!
Puzzle Fighter!
On the mics.
Don't make us regret it.
Yeah. So doing the introduction again, I'm Jeffery Simpson. I'm the community manager here at Capcom Vancouver. This is Alijah, the lead designer on Puzzle Fighter. And this is Peter. He is also a designer on Puzzle Fighter. This is Peter's first stream with us. Alijah was on a couple weeks ago for the launch of Puzzle Fighter.
Yep.
We're going to be playing some games. They've already played some games, recorded it. We're going to take some questions. We're live on Twitch and on the Puzzle Fighter Facebook. We'll take some questions from both communities and, show off some Puzzle Fighter today. This is a big stream today. So we're doing Puzzle Fighter now with the design team. Afterwards, we're going to take a break and we're going to bring on Alexa and Devin. And they are behind the sound and the soundtrack for a lot of the games coming out of Capcom Vancouver. We're going to mostly be talking about Dead Rising 4. Alexa has done the soundtrack for that. He's done the soundtrack for every game we've done since Dead Rising 2, including Puzzle Fighter. So there may be some Puzzle Fighter talk there too. And it's going to be a lot. We're going to do a couple different things on this stream. So thanks for tuning in. But let's start playing some Puzzle Fighter.
Let's do it. Actually, Jeffrey, would you mind moving that monitor a little closer to the camera?
This monitor,
yeah,
sure.
Thanks. Yeah, I think that's better.
So,
Elijah likes to get a good view of himself.
Yeah, exactly. We can now see us. We've controlled the blinds a little bit, so hopefully it's not quite so bright. And we're going to bring up Puzzle Fighter here.
Oh, that comment that says we're muted, you fixed that, right?
I did,
Nice.
yes.
Thank you.
And we are going to remove this one, because this was from last session, and add in our latest gameplay. And now you guys, we're playing each other. for a little bit here so we could record some of the gameplay.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit easier to here we go. I have to load in this file. It's a little bit easier to comment as you're watching as opposed to when you're doing it.
You lose some of the friendly banter, but
That's right.
yeah.
So we're going to take this sound down a bit. And we're also going to reposition it.
Don't hold back now.
Make it a bit bigger, and
This is the path of my destiny.
we're going to pop back to camera only and then come back, and we're going to talk about this. So this is, we're focused for this stream on your phone, Elijah.
Yeah.
So we're going to be seeing the game from your perspective. So let's pull it up again. And here we go. So we're challenging Peter. And you, I'm going to put the down here. You
Yeah.
started off playing Morgan.
Yeah, that's right. Whoa, sorry about that. Yeah, Morgan recently underwent some balance changes, so we've just been feeling her out on this new stream. Lots of damage and heal potential on Morgan. Yeah, so I was playing her against Peter's Ryu.
Should point out though that to try to make the match a bit more fair, I tried to handicap with no support, but
Yes, Peter forgot to
disadvantage there.
put on his support characters.
Yeah.
What, I mean, for people who haven't been playing Puzzle Fighter, what do the support characters actually do for you?
Yeah, when you trigger your first or second skill, they'll come on, so you can assign a support character to either your first skill or your second skill. And when you trigger your first skill, that assigned support character will come on and do its action. So it could be a stun, it could be a heal, it could be damage.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Keep in mind the effectiveness of that support character is going to change based on the skill condition of your main character. So the bigger that skill, the more effective that support character is going to be.
Yeah. And that's just to make sure that, like, you know, if you put it on a 2x2, you're not getting like 100 damage. It's the same damage you get on a 4x2, which is a lot harder to do.
Yeah.
Right. So you were focusing on
just
green affinity.
Yeah, I started at the beginning focusing on green, then I kind of freestyled a little bit because he kept dropping stuff on me, and I just tried to build organically based on what he was dropping. I do have the Soul Fist 2x2, so whatever 2x2s I can build lets me get off a lot of skills pretty frequently and just get minor heals from them.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the advantages of the 2x2s, that flexibility.
Yeah.
But you do take a damage hit, like max potential damage.
Yeah.
So actually we had, I think we pretty much had the same skill load. Like I had 2x2 and 2x2 as well.
Yeah.
And so how do you adjust when you're playing someone? Do you go in with an idea of what you're going to be doing, or how do you know when you need to flip the script, sort of?
It depends on the character you're playing. Like, for example, if you're playing Bison with like a red team going full red affinity, you've only really got one game plan, and you're gonna try as hard as you can to build a big red power gem. But if you're playing a character like Ryu or Morgan with smaller skill conditions, you're gonna be more prone to freestyling based on your opponent's drop pattern.
Flow, yeah. And you're trying to control the tempo, right? You're trying to make your opponent kind of play under your game, not the other way around, right? You're going against a Bison, for example. You really want to force that. Make sure that they're playing your game and not his. Otherwise, you're gonna get smacked for that big 800, 900 damage hit.
Yeah.
All right, so you're going again.
Yeah, we decided to remove the handicap this time, so now it's equal.
Yeah.
You actually put in your characters.
Put my characters in. I think I went with Ryu again, just to see what that was like. I'm actually maining Ryu right now. I think I'm Super Gold, or I was Ultra Gold. I'm going to try and copy that, but down to Super Gold. Ryu's actually really good. I enjoy him. Usually play him with 3 affinity for that blue.
This is a really fun matchup too because of Morgan's heal and both of their small skill conditions. You see a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
A lot more back and forth than a match with like all-in characters like Bison. The push and pull is probably one of my favorite things about this game, and you'll see it a lot in this game here. Actually, you'll see it even more in the next game we play after.
Yeah. No, the next game I think it's a game after game.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you'll notice I'm not breaking those skills even though they're ready to go. It's because I've got a heal on them, so I'm not gonna have wasted heal by breaking those skills right off the bat. That just gives me diminishing returns, right? So.
You also notice that on my board that I have 3 power gems going those legs on it, so it just shows you, like, when you start getting really good at the game, building up multiple colors, multiple power gems at the same time is usually kind of like the next level. That's level 4.
All right. I'm going to try adjusting just Peter's mic, which is the feedback we've gotten.
Okay.
But keep talking.
Okay.
Yep. So
Elijah's making an app here now. He's doing a lot of good things.
basically at this point, I'm just trying to heal long enough to get that soup. Like I can charge it up now. And actually, with the recent balance changes, Morgan has pretty considerable heal on her super, so
All right.
that can save you in some tight spots.
This is actually a really good match. This is a super tight match. I thought I lost it. I was at this point, I'm like,
Yeah.
you got me basically. Like, looking at your health pool, looking
Yeah.
at my health pool, I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna turn this around.
Yeah. For those of you who are new to the stream, beating Peter is something that I do almost daily. Like first thing when we get to work, we play a match. I teach him some things, and then we come here. So
That's true. I usually got to make sure I go soft on Alijah. Otherwise, next thing you know, balance changes here, balance changes there.
I'll actually hand it to him. That he pulled out a pretty clutch win there at the end. That was pretty awesome. I didn't see that coming at all. So I think in a fit of rage, I switched my team back to reliable Bison.
Bison's really good right now, yeah, for sure.
He is. So notice I actually put Dante on Bison's smaller skill condition. That's because I'm mostly just leveraging Dante for his stun. I put my higher damage support onto my bigger skill condition so I can get more damage from that 4x3.
So what do you get out of that? You get a 2, 3, 5 stun on a 4x3? Plus another 2, so 7 stun, I think. You get a 7 stun.
Yeah, what's that Psycho Blast at?
Is it a 2 or 3 on the Psycho Blast? I think it's a 3.
I have to check.
It's a 3, and then it's a 2 on your affinity because you're going 3 affinities, so that's 5. And then
That's
you're
right.
doing 2 affinities, so that's 6, 8, plus that one. So you're doing a 9 turn stun.
Yeah. So in addition to Bison doing that damage from that 4x3, he's dropping just a mountain of timer gems on you, and they're all 9 stuns. So you're pretty much hit with this insurmountable wall. So you just can't let Bison build that. You got to play very aggressively against Bison players. If you guys are struggling with Bisons at all, just if you see a lot of them in the meta, switch to a character with a really aggressive drop pattern like Jill, and try to break pretty early to get that tempo on Bison.
Yeah, you got to look at your drop pattern too. Like if you have red in your lower rows and you're dropping too soon, good Bison might just take advantage of that and start building, with that in mind and kind of actually turning that around on you.
Yeah. So here, for me, pretty much what it was all about was just building that middle row of red as soon as I could because he's dropping red on the left and right side of that, so I'm leveraging his drop pattern. Now I just need to connect that orb to that.
Man.
That's huge.
I thought going a tank in this situation might have been, advantageous, but just that damage just did it to me. And you got some really, look at those follow-ups right there. Those are really good follow-ups. I got to give it to him.
Almost looks like it was on purpose.
Yeah, almost. I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, pretty close.
So this is like sort of that lull in the match when you're playing as Bison. Your 4x3 is not going to kill them, but your 4x3 and your super probably will.
You got a
so
chip, yeah.
Now it's the race to the super. Also, Bison has really high standard attack damage as well, so sometimes you can just break any gem just to squeeze out that last bit of damage. That works really well with a character like Bison.
And I mean, one of the reasons why he's got that higher attack, that chip damage, is because he's got a really weak drop pattern. So if you are chipping, you are also providing your opponent effectively, 2x2 power gems.
Yeah.
Even bigger if they're playing it right. I will say one of Elijah's biggest strengths as a player is probably his speed.
Yeah.
Really fast player. And yeah, you definitely got to there's been matches against him where it's just that one gem that he's ahead of you by, or that 2 gems.
Bison is comparable to almost comparable to Quest Rogue in Hearthstone. It's I don't even care what my opponent's doing. I'm just going to race as fast as I can to build this particular setup and then just blow them up before they can respond. So that's why you got to be aggressive early against them.
Yeah, for sure. So this is take 2 on the Honda versus Bison match. It's a nice cleanup you got there.
I made a really bad
Yeah,
job
that seemed
there.
like an interesting move.
That was just a straight up mistake. So at this point, I've already totally screwed up. I've got the Christmas board going on the right. Basically, what you want to do in a situation like this, the greens are what's getting in my way of building that 4x3 red, right? Yeah. So I try to keep a green exposed somewhere else on the game board, so when it's diamond time, I can break the greens.
Makes sense.
Just like this, and then get back to building that 4x3.
Now, what are your thoughts on using your diamond prop your tech bonus effectively to charge your super faster as a Bison?
It depends how aggressive your opponent's playing, but generally I find that tech bonus isn't super effective with Bison unless it's after you've broken the 4x3, because usually when you're building that 4x3, you're going to need to save that diamond for a situation just like
I see. So you basically are using that diamond to clear the way for that 4x3.
Pretty much. So some huge drops from Peter.
Yeah, dude.
What did you break there?
Everything.
Yeah,
like,
so...
Last game, I actually feel like I just missed my yellow crash gem, so I had a nice little counter for you, but I missed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this time I got good luck. Made it happen.
Try and mute this here.
Boom, dude. And the nice thing with if you're playing Honda, if you can get a couple of your damage buffs stacked up and then trigger your super, he's got really low damage as a base character, but if you can get the damage buff stacked up, it really starts to bring him to like par or above par.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of moments where like using my super immediately is not actually the ideal thing. Like you want to almost trigger another 2x2 at the very least and just get that one extra stack.
Yeah.
I've had moments where I've lost matches because I triggered too early. If I had just held out 2 more turns, I could have made something happen.
Holding on to your super can be beneficial in a few situations. One of the strategies I learned from the community playing against you guys was holding on to your super to close off the match. So as soon as you're in that final stretch where you're both low on HP and I see that you're about to break something, I just use my super to jump the skill queue and close off that match before you can respond.
Yeah, that's one of the nice features of the supers is that they do jump the queue.
Yeah.
But if you'd already used the super as soon as you got it, wouldn't that damage already been done?
So it depends on the so like keep in mind that supers might just have more than just damage as well, right? They might have heal, they might have stun, and sometimes you're trying to wait for that particular scenario to use it in the most effective way to close off the match.
Yeah, like when I'm playing Ryu, I won't use my super unless I have a really strong drop on them, so I can like add on to those counter gems. So if I've sent like 20 counter gems and they're at 5 timer on them, like using my super then is more ideal because I can block them. I can add time to those and block it out a bit more.
Now, this is the game you kind of referenced earlier. We've got 2 healers basically going head-to-head.
Yeah.
What sort of strategy do you take when you're either Chuck or you're Morgan and you see someone else on the other side using almost the same kind of tactics?
Yeah.
Or at least the same
I think if you're going against a Morgan player, I think that one of the most important things to do is not do kind of like consistent damage. You wanted to go for the burst.
Yeah.
Because the consistent damage is giving that player opportunity to actually use their skill to heal through it. But if you do burst damage, there's going to be a lot of instances where Morgan would be forced to trigger skill and effectively lose part of their damage, like the healing aspect of their damage.
Yeah.
What do you think, Elijah? What are your thoughts on Morgan face-up?
I agree with that. I mean, my answer was going to be a lot more simple. Just in a matchup like this, just try not to be the first one to break all your stuff if you have full health.
Yeah.
Try to make sure you're always getting full effects from your skills. You're getting all that damage, getting all that heal.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're just wasting, roughly 50% of your skills
Well, in
value.
this match, you broke first.
Yeah, I did. I actually didn't have much choice. Or maybe I just screwed up. I can't remember. But what I'm trying to do, my strategy in this match, is just build high on the left side. But Peter starts playing really aggressive here, and while I want to put greens in my second from the far left, he keeps dropping yellows, and like in a situation just like that, and then it makes it really hard for me to.
Well, you just destroyed a lot of your counter gems too in that one crash. Might not have been.
Yeah.
We are getting people walking in and giving us messages. Hi, Steve. Steve loves
Look
us.
at this, Elijah. You almost got me overstacked. I think I'm just chipping my way through. Like you had me a couple times where I was like at that point of just like getting destroyed, and I got a good crash there. I was able to chip through, and I made some things happen with my 2x2 heal.
Situation like this, for a while I had more health than him, but he is not out. Like all it takes from Chuck is that one big break, and he's gonna heal and come back. And keep in mind, he's a lot closer to super than me as well, and he's got some ammo on the board.
So maybe that's actually just as a side, like recently we just increased the healing output across the board, and one of the reasons we did that was because as a player or as a character with a healer, if you crash at full HP or in a non-opportune time, you're effectively going to negate that skill.
Yeah.
So to kind of offset for that potential disadvantage, we gave the healing a 10% boost.
Yeah.
So it's I think Chuck's doing 10% more healing on just his 2x2 than a regular 2x2 would do in damage.
I think if you guys were having trouble with healers at all, like when the game first came out, definitely give some of the healing characters you own another try, because they've really have taken on a new sort of play style in the current meta. we're finding Morgan to be extremely strong right now.
All right. I think
Morgan's
that was the last game you guys played.
Yeah.
So we're going to take some questions. Whether you're watching on Facebook or on our Twitch channel, ask questions. This part of the stream is just about Puzzle Fighter, so save your Dead Rising soundtrack questions for after the break, because we won't have very good answers for them. But we're going to first start with Twitch. The chat's been going for a bit. I'm going to ask or read through here. Let's see what kind of questions we've got.
Lots of stuff.
Lots of talk about Resident Evil. Excellent game. We're not the people who are going to be able to talk about Resident Evil that much. I'm just reading through. People are asking for the DMC collection on Switch. Again, we're not the people who make those decisions. So this is unrelated to the game, but we'll ask it anyway because looking for questions. Is it true that Canada has maple syrup, Tim Hortons, and hockey as far as the eye can see?
It depends on your, as far as the eye can see is pretty abstract, but we love hockey in Canada. There's a lot of hockey over here. People are big on it. There's maple syrup, to be honest, is more of a tourism thing. If you're coming here from somewhere else, there's maple syrup everything.
That's true.
In all the tourist shops, but
the airports. And
I don't
stuff.
remember the last time I had maple syrup. If you go to a restaurant, you get pancakes, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we eat table syrup just as much.
That's the sort of Ontario, Quebec thing where they have they go tree tapping and stuff like that. That's not something we do here in BC.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, lots of hockey. Tim Hortons is
kind of a big,
cheaper version of Starbucks. It's a little bit cheaper, more donut focused.
Yeah.
That's popular. Hockey, as you say, definitely very popular. Of all the games I've ever worked on, the only one that most people would know when I talked about it was when I worked on the NHL game at EA. Anyone I said, oh, I work on EA Sports NHL, they'd be like, oh, yeah, that's great. Any other game, whether it's Dead Rising, Puzzle Fighter, the average person is like, okay, sounds fun, thumbs up. But hockey, people get that. So
yeah. Tim Hortons has something called Timbits. So for our American players tuned in, you might not know what a Timbit is. It's supposed to be the circular inside of a donut, the sphere inside of a donut. So when you're a kid, or even in the office, sometimes people bring them in to share. They're all right.
And they're super cheap. You can get, I don't know, 20 for $5 or something.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a good office thing. People will spend $10 and get donuts for everyone.
Yeah.
Or Timbits.
Yeah. All right, let's see what Puzzle Fighter questions we
have. Puzzle Fighter would be great. Lots of... will we be releasing the official soundtrack for Puzzle Fighter? I recognize a lot of tracks from certain Dead Rising games, too. I don't think we have plans specifically for releasing the soundtrack. That might be an Alexa question. He worked on the soundtrack.
We could take that one after.
Yeah, we will follow back around on that one. There is a lot of classic tracks on that. It's a really fun soundtrack.
Yeah, we were lucky to collaborate with a lot of really good, renowned artists from all over. Actually, Alexa went out and worked with some really talented composers on that soundtrack, and then he also made a bunch of the tracks himself as well. So yeah, we're big fans of the soundtrack over here. I listen to it while I work.
How much did you look at the kind of the classic Puzzle Fighter soundtrack when you were giving design ideas and saying this is what we want it to sound like, or did you want something new and fresh for the?
We wanted something. The most important thing being that it suited whatever universe the stage was from.
Yeah.
Because all the music is obviously based on the stages. So for example, if it's Wily's Fortress, we want that music to be true to Wily's Fortress, but at the same time we also wanted it to be, a new and fresh take on that. And I think this is the first time we've heard the Wily's Fortress theme and with like a synth pop
Yeah.
style versus like the more traditional 8-bit style.
All right.
Alexa could say these things that I'm saying much more elegantly though, and actually know what he's talking about. We're just designers over here.
Makes sense.
More soundtrack questions. So those are great. We'll try and deal with the Puzzle Fighter soundtrack with Alexa. Why? Can we look forward to more solo modes for Puzzle Fighter?
Munchkins. That's
Arcade ladder mode. Yeah, I mean, I think we've got the missions in the game. I think we are looking at like kind of building out single player features, right? I mean, without kind of going too far into any details.
You want to take that one?
I mean, it's like it just depends on what we can say. I mean, yeah, it's something we're looking into. I think we've got a lot of feedback from players that they'd like to see more single-player stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just for reference, like one of the concerns we have as well is like, we want to make sure that, that we don't take players away too much from PvP because then, if you're splitting players up, that might also hurt the PvP match pool. But we also understand that, there are people who just want to have, a nice sit down, just play casually.
Yeah.
So we are definitely looking into that and seeing what we can do to start meeting that need.
What are the odds of Capcom Vancouver developing a fighting game outside of Street Fighter and Marvel? Well, we've never done like a straight fighting game here. We've just for Capcom, we've done the Dead Rising series, which you fight zombies, but it's not a fighting game, right? And then Puzzle Fighter, which is, a spin on a fighting game. It's not. I wouldn't call it a fighting game per se.
Yeah.
I don't think we have necessarily any immediate plans to do a fighting game. I think the Street Fighter team and the Marvel versus Capcom team probably have that covered for the next little bit. But I think we're all fans of Street Fighter. We do Street Fighter tournaments here and stuff.
Yeah. Got a lot of competitive players in the office.
Yeah. And it's really cool to have to be able to bring the Street Fighter characters into Puzzle Fighter. I mean, they were always in Puzzle Fighter, right?
Yeah.
They're sort of the basis, but
Yeah. But the odds of Capcom Vancouver developing it, I mean, we couldn't really speak to that, but lots of updates happening for Street Fighter and Marvel with Arcade Edition recently being announced, so definitely check it out if you haven't already. Capcom USA has been making a lot of great things happen with the Street Fighter franchise, so...
yeah. Can you somehow place Alexa in Puzzle Fighter as a literal gem? Because that's what he is.
We agree.
We agree.
Yeah.
That's we'll pass that on.
Yeah.
I'll make sure to read that comment to him. Will there ever be controller support in Puzzle Fighter? Nothing to announce. Certainly, all feedback like that, we do take in and we do, kind of talk about it internally and see, what we can do and how much demand there is for it. One really good example of that was when we were doing the soft launch, the colorblind mode, right? Yeah. That was something I know you guys have been talking about even before soft launch, but the kind of volume of requests and people asking for that, we kind of fast tracked that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The tricky part with controller or even keyboard support is that it's accessibility. It's like once we want people to be able to play the way we want, but we also want to make sure that players are on an equal footing. That just by having a controller or some other peripheral that you're not at an inherent advantage. So that is one of the concerns with that that request, but it is something that we have looked into and we have discussed. There's no immediate action on it, but that's kind of where it came down to. Is just that accessibility issue. Like I'm on the subway, I don't got a controller, right? But I want to be able to play the game and feel like it's pretty fair for me.
So the Nostalgic Gamers asked a couple times about other puzzle modes in Street Fighter X, Y, and Z mode. Nothing announced. Definitely, we look at all sorts of things, but we can't really talk about stuff that's not announced unless we're going to be teasing something, which we might do in the future. But we might tease features or characters in the future, but we're not doing that today.
For those of you who are asking about specific characters coming to the game, we can't announce who, but what we can say is we're always working on new content.
Yeah.
We're always working on new characters. We're taking feedback from the community on who those characters should be. So you can look forward to new things coming soon, but we won't be announcing who.
Yeah, exactly. We've got characters planned out, and every time I post something on Facebook or Twitter, and we get a list of replies with all the deep dive into Capcom's kind of character catalog, I make sure the dev team sees those, and I bug them and say, hey, when are we gonna get these guys in?
Yeah.
Maybe one thing worth noting is that we are looking at ways to make characters a little bit more interesting and unique from our current catalog in the game. So as we do introduce new characters in the future, I mean, one of our goals is that they, have some sort of interesting or compelling component to them.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe not too many details around that, but maybe just something to disclose that, that is something that you can look forward to.
So talking about characters, one of the new characters we've had was actually the most recent character was ServeBot. Yep. So which one of you worked most on ServeBot?
Or Peter.
Yeah, I think it's about equal. To be real.
So how do you get a character like that? Like the ServeBots are I wouldn't say peripheral necessarily, but they're not one of the main characters. They're not a Ryu or a X or a Jill Valentine. How do you take something like that that's sort of a side, almost jokey character and turn them into a viable fighter in the game?
Well, I mean, we just give them good abilities and some decent stats.
Well, luckily we had some pretty strong references. Our ServeBot is largely based on Marvel vs. Capcom 2 ServeBot.
Yeah.
One of the most memorable characters from the game, in my opinion. Gotta note that in Marvel, like, ServeBot was defined by totally different parameters than what you see in Puzzle Fighter, like his incredibly small hitboxes and stuff. Like, for those of you who remember how little he was in Marvel, he had a totally unique playstyle. But in our game, we obviously don't have those types of parameters to play with. So instead, we're wondering, like, okay, well, how can we take ServeBot's sort of personality as a character and transpose that into a drop pattern and a skill set.
And we're looking at the holes, right? Like what each role a character fills and what potential gaps we have in that. So
it just seemed right to make him like a super squishy, high damage character.
Yeah, he's pretty much our highest damage output character. It was X prior.
Yeah.
And now it's it's ServeBot.
So trying to look. Are we hiring any interns or UI UX designers? I don't think we're hiring. We don't have any intern positions open. In terms of designers, I haven't looked at the hiring list recently, but if you go to CapcomVancouver.com or our LinkedIn page, you can see all the open positions. We do have some design roles open, I believe. I don't know if they're in UX and UI or not. But always keep checking there because we do have positions opening all the time.
Will you guys be working on alternate costumes for characters? Again, just like characters, we won't announce which ones, but yep, like I said, always working on new content.
Yeah.
So,
and each character has already one alternate costume, plus the color variations. Here you go. So what are each of you, what kind of, apart from Puzzle Fighter, obviously, what other puzzle games, and you can mention competitors here, do you play or do you like to play?
Puzzle games, yeah.
Yeah. You want to go first, or?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the original Tetris.
Yeah.
Love that game. Played a lot of different variations. Bejeweled was another one that I played a lot of. And then there's like some more recent ones like Marvel Puzzle Quest and some of those other guys, WWE champions, that are kind of more of the match 3 type games. Yeah,
I mean, for me, like probably the one that stands out the most in recent years is the remake of Puyo Puyo on Nintendo Switch, just because it's so mechanically similar to Puzzle Fighter.
Yep.
Obviously a really strong game on the Switch. Mechanically similar in terms of sort of how the game board works and stuff, but pretty different at the core in terms of how you win, how you progress, how you form your strategies, that kind of thing.
Yeah, a lot of the advanced strategies in that game, though, like stacking and staircasing and as the community would note, bookmarking. Yeah, you can kind of get from that game as well.
Yeah.
Chances, people are asking about other platforms. I mean, we're focused right now on mobile. We're not talking any other platforms. The game just came out. It's a bit early for us to start looking at what we're doing next. But, definitely we're focused on the mobile experience. I think perfecting that, and you've seen us doing regular updates. We've got an update coming out before the holiday break. We won't go into kind of what's in it, but we're trying to get regular updates going, and that's where our focus is right now. It's. I mean, I think it's really cool that we've managed to get kind of a game that goes from an arcade game to a console into something that fits in your pocket now, and that's quite an achievement, I think. Not just for us. I mean, that's an achievement for computing. Period. I think let's check Facebook. I'm going to bring Facebook up on my phone here, and see what questions Facebook might have. So that's been the Twitch chat. So let's see. I'm going to try and keep it so the audio doesn't pop up here.
That's neat. You can see us on the actual app.
Yeah. Here we go. I can hear myself talking about checking Facebook.
It's like
anything you can tell us about the update that just happened? So can you talk about the balance changes that we put in last week?
Yeah. We put three main. Basically, Elijah and I sat down and we said, well, what are the three things we really want to get in? Doing a big list of changes for a game like this, I think maybe is not the right approach. I think it's in a pretty good state. So we're just like, what's the top three? And I think we kind of agreed that Morgan's really just not performing. Like we're seeing in data that she's one of the least picked, least chosen characters. We're also seeing that her win rate was also the lowest. So we definitely wanted to address that. We wanted to bring her up, give her a little bit more presence in the metagame. And then, inverse to that, like what characters may be doing too well. And one of the characters we identified that was doing too well was Jill. There's a number of reasons why that was the case. So, those reasons aside, we did have like both community feedback. We did have, analytics, game data to support this, and our own perception. Like Elijah and I both play pretty competitively. I think Elijah's like one of the top players, like 3,000 something points right now.
Like 3,100 something.
He'd be higher though if I didn't beat him all the time and take those points away. But yeah, he's pretty good otherwise. And then the other one was just like, what are some kind of more broad things that what are certain mechanics that maybe just aren't performing? And I think one of the things we identified was healing. Healing was on par with damage prior, and we just felt like in the circumstances where as we mentioned, like if you're playing a Morgan, you don't want to crash first because you basically lose all that healing. If you have full HP. Mm-hmm. So we want to, kind of compensate for that slight disadvantage, but not overcompensate. So with Jill, I think we did have some discussions about maybe some more drastic changes.
Yeah.
Like specifically on her drop pattern, but her initial design intent was for her to have that kind of really disruptive pattern. It's supposed to be more of like the Qumsieh type player where it's really putting pressure on the opponent to like react and readjust.
Well, like actually, what originally happened was, I went to Peter one day and I said, Peter, her drop pattern is too disruptive. Like it's so hard to deal with. Like and she also has really high numbers. Like she does a ton of damage. She's the only character in the game with multiple 2x3s as a shared skill condition. So she has all these strong things going for her. Mm-hmm. And then Peter brought up the point like. Yeah, but if we change her drop pattern, if we change her disruptive drop pattern and we change, the skill conditions and stuff like that, it's really going to affect the way that she plays. And people who are dedicated to that playstyle aren't going to they're not going to be able to find that anymore with her. So instead, we decided to go more after her numbers and keep her playstyle the same. So Jill is still very disruptive, has really good skill trigger conditions, but her numbers had to suffer a little bit in the...
Well, her skill trigger conditions are kind of almost a double-edged sword. Like, they're simple to execute in that they're only a 2x3, but they're also limited in that respect. She can't approach a 4x2 or 5x2 to get higher damage output. Yeah. And she also doesn't have access to a 2x2. So... that is something to keep in mind. It's not like a full win in that sense. But it definitely is easier to play. But I think that's an important point. We did not want to change the essence of the character, especially once she was released. It sucks to have, especially if you're paid, you bought the character, for example, or you are really invested in that character. You've put a lot of time into it, and then for us to just change it that heavy-handedly. Yeah. That's definitely not going to be our approach, especially moving forward. We're looking at more maintaining her design intent and just finding ways to make her fit a bit better. Mm-hmm.
Also on from Facebook, so when people are asking for certain characters or asking for a tease, like, can you give hints on who's coming next? All we can really say about that is they're probably going to be a Capcom character. That doesn't narrow it down, but yeah, look at some Capcom characters, see who's there and who's not, and they'll be one of the people who aren't here.
Yeah,
yet.
We'll probably release a coming soon banner and coming soon icon in the character select screen.
Yeah. You know what? I can give one hint, which is one of our upcoming characters is not from any of the games that our current characters is from. So you can look forward to a brand new character from a different Capcom game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I'm pretty excited about this character.
Yeah, me too as well.
I'm gonna probably be maining this character for a while.
Yeah.
Request for a training mode. I think I look at the missions myself as like a training mode in that I use them to, for example, I've just gotten Servbot. He's a support character because I main Chuck, but I've been using him in the missions so I can get used to him and try and figure out how best to use him. Because generally the missions aren't too difficult.
So maybe there's 2 points to be made there. Maybe the first point is we actually do recognize that maybe the missions aren't as challenging as they should be.
Yeah.
And that is something that we are aiming to address in the next update. So players should expect to see, expert be a real challenge, like expect to play 2 or 3 times to actually beat that mission. Maybe more towards the actual question of training mode. It is something that we're looking at. And, we talked a little bit earlier about more single-player offering, like more casual play. It would be one of the potential things we're also looking at introducing into the game. But I'm not saying there's nothing been concrete decided. It's just one of the many things that we've been discussing. So just saying that we've been discussing it.
All right. Let's see what Twitch has for us. People are asking about the Disney Collection port to Switch. We don't know anything about that. Sorry. And that's not a cop-out. We literally do not have any clue about what's happening with games that we're not making. I mean, Mega Man 11, that announcement took me by surprise. When Capcom USA talks to us, they use code names for all their unannounced stuff, so we don't really have too much insight into what's going on outside of our studio. Let's see. More franchises welcome in Puzzle Fighter? Yeah, I think we're going to look into getting more in, as Elijah said. Are you interested in releasing more media for Puzzle Fighter, like wallpapers or whatnot? We gave away some wallpapers for people who pre-registered for the game before release. I mean, I think that would be something we're interested in doing if people are, if there's a demand for that. And we have the bandwidth, we can have an art team that can kind of make up stuff like that. Yeah. So that's a yes if people are interested. Yeah. So I think that's probably about it. We're getting near to the end of the stream anyway. Any last questions you can ask either on Facebook or Twitch. Other than that, anything we haven't talked about, you guys, that we'd like to say or to discuss?
Yeah, mostly just that for those of you who are asking about upcoming features and stuff like that, this is a live game. We're always developing new features, new content.
Yeah.
Just stay tuned because there's a lot of really, really exciting stuff on the way, and we wish we could announce it all right now.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think you've touched on is, Peter, when you're talking about balance, is that we're always watching the game in terms of, we see metrics in terms of what characters are winning more. We see
pick rates.
What pick rates and stuff like that. So we see into the game, and we're also always, reading the community channels. Even if we're not always commenting, we're lurking on, the Reddit page. We're lurking on Facebook and Twitter. We're taking in all this feedback that everyone in the community is giving us, and we kind of process that and discuss it. There's a weekly, look inside our process. We've got a weekly live operations meeting that Steve, who came in and made for great TV by not coming on camera, he runs that, and we all present a report during that. I present a report with community feedback. So that stuff, everything you say, is in that report, and so I make them listen to it, and then
we want
you want to listen to it, right? And then we discuss, like, okay, well, the community's saying this. How can we address that? and how can we make them happy? How can we get our sentiment numbers up? So everything you say to us, it comes back to us. Let's check for questions. See if we can't.
And I just want to say that, like, I've had an opportunity to interact with a lot of different communities for different products, and this community has been really great. It's been positive. There's been a lot of support for the game. There's been a lot of really positive behavior and great questions, great suggestions that we've seen both on Twitter or Facebook or Reddit or wherever. So I just want to say thank you to everyone out there who's been providing feedback and who's been engaged and who's been really positive about it. We definitely appreciate that, and keep the suggestions coming, because we're often trolling and writing little notes down about hey, this is a great idea, that's a great idea, and they're coming up in discussions. They're not being neglected.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point. Like we don't always agree with what the community might say, but it's been really great that the community that you have been able to present. If you don't like something, you've been able to present it in a kind of a mature, reasonable way that lets us engage with the ideas you're presenting, as opposed to being like, someone just insulted my mother and said I should, die. That sort of like toxic stuff gets in the way of the really good suggestions in other communities. So I'm glad, we've kept this really positive relationship. On Facebook, Danny, and this isn't a question, but I'm just going to address it. So Danny's having an issue that we know about, where he's only being able to connect to the game via Wi-Fi, not his cellular carrier. It's an issue that some people are having. We know about it. We're looking into it. We think, we're getting close to it, but we don't have a date that we've got to fix for it yet. It's something we are trying to address. It's just with certain people having this issue. It still works on Wi-Fi. It's just a way that some.
Do you want us to talk a bit more about that, or
I don't want to get into specifics because it's still kind of an evolving issue.
Okay.
We thought it was one thing, and then I think we've kind of adjusted that, but we're definitely looking into it. Yeah. So thank you for pointing that out. We're looking into that. Capcom, can we give feedback for Street Fighter and other stuff? Street Fighter has a much bigger community team than we have. They definitely take that in. I know they know the feedback, just keep giving it to them on their channels. You can give it to us, but it's not going to be as useful since we don't actually work on Street Fighter. Is the tutorial bug being looked at? We know about the tutorial bug and we are looking at it. I don't know if we have can announce anything beyond that at this point. But yeah, most if you've seen a bug reported more than once, we know about it and we're looking into it. If you do, I think this game's been really stable. I haven't seen a lot of technical issues with it, but if you are having a technical issue, puzzlefighter.com has a support option, or you can actually do it inside the app itself. File a ticket. We've got a team of customer service people who can do a lot of diagnostics right on your phone. They can see what kind of phone you have. They can look at your account. They can hopefully address that. If they can't, they pass it on to us, and we look into it deeper.
Yeah, we're lucky that we actually have an on-site CS team. So
yeah,
a lot of times we're getting questions like at the dev level, and we're working together with them to resolve it.
Absolutely, yeah. This is the first game I've worked on with an on-site customer support team, so they can just walk right over and say, "Here it is. Here's what we're seeing."
Peter, do you want to speak to that question about dropping the MP needed to get the mission chests?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So on the next event, we'll probably be looking at reducing the cadence from 2 weeks to one, and making the actual MP required for missions a lot more achievable. And that's also in line with the difficulty or the challenge changes that we're introducing for mission events.
All right.
So they'll kind of work together. So it should be, even though it might be a shorter period of time and there might be less points required, the missions themselves, like I said, take a bit more work. But I think they're a lot more fun and rewarding as a result.
Last question we're going to take. Are any chance of a Puzzle Fighter cameo in Dead Rising? Well, technically, I mean, this is a sales pitch, but Capcom Heroes is just out. It's got a lot of crossover in terms of roster with Puzzle Fighter. You've got X, you've got Jill Valentine. So there's some shared characters there. Frank West is obviously in Puzzle Fighter, as is Chuck Green.
Dante.
Dante is in both. So there's a lot of
Bison.
Yeah, Bison as well. So there's a lot of crossover there in terms of more of a reference. Nothing for Dead Rising 4. Possibly something. Who knows what happens in the future? But right now, nothing planned. So thanks everyone for tuning in, you guys, you people. And thanks Elijah, thanks Peter for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And they will be back probably after the holidays. Peter is off, and Elijah is going to be busy. But after the holidays, we'll get the team back together and do some more of this.
Let's do it.
And we also wanted to be playing against the community. So you've also seen both of their usernames in this stream. So you can. If you match up against them, you know who you're playing against, and you can grief them.
Prepare to lose.
Prepare to lose.
Match up against that.
You're only gold. You're not ultra gold yet.
Listen. I gotta.
Yeah.
It's like you're ninja. You're secretly.
Yeah.
Secretly good.
Yeah, big ups to Peter for really toning down the trash talk during this stream, because he is the king of trash talk in this office.
I don't know about trash talk. Maybe like witty, fun,
Right.
Cool banter.
We-
Yeah, I'll go with
Educational
that.
humor.
We
Yeah.
kept saying, Peter, when we were recording those games, we kept saying, Peter, you can't swear once we start
No,
streaming.
I wasn't. I was just laying it down, basically. Like Elijah was like, he came in here like he was gonna lay it down, and he got laid down. So.
All
Okay.
right. Well, thank you, everyone. We're going to take a bit of a break, but when we come back, it'll be. I'm going to give you an exact time, so you can all take a break as well. When we come back in about 20 minutes, we will have Alexa and Devin here. We're going to be talking about soundtracks, maybe the Puzzle Fighter soundtrack, but definitely Dead Rising 4, audio design, and we'll see you in about 20 minutes, I believe I said.
All right.
So thank you for tuning in. If you're watching on Facebook, we won't be streaming this next section on the Puzzle Fighter Facebook page for obvious reasons, not really Puzzle Fighter related. But thank you all for tuning in,
All right,
and
thank you guys.
see you in a bit.